This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Hello and welcome back to the Research Talks podcast here on Stockbox with Alan Green at the end of another week, a slightly quieter week, certainly feeling a lot quieter generally, both of course work-wise, but also just general chat and sentiment in the market. People are obviously, it's always a historically quiet month, isn't it, August? So maybe we should make the most of it, Alan, and get the barbecues out for the last time this year, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, actually, my wife's away. She's away for a few days in Italy with some other family members. So I'm on my own in the house and kicking back. And I had a few beers and a takeaway last night, so I really enjoyed that. But that's it. But no, you're right, Mark. It is, things have quietened down. We see this in August, of course. It's a bit like the go away in May, really. It's I think a lot of the big city movers and shakers tend to bob around on their yachts in the Caribbean at this time of year, and if there's a change in the market, then they'll be in touch. But certainly there's a sense that everyone's just they're just parking everything for now, and will return probably again mid-September, early October even.
Well, why not? If you've got a yacht to chill out on, Alan, why not use it in the month of August, hey? Maybe that's what
Absolutely.
we should aim for, Maybe we should timeshare a yacht together at some point, and we can do the same thing.
Yeah, well, I could probably stretch to a small rowing boat, maybe bobbing around just off the Seaford.
Okay, a small rowing boat. Okay. I'll match you with a rubber dinghy then.
Okay, maybe we'll put a little sail on, to get some motion if the wind gets up. But
yeah, maybe. But today we're going to talk about a new company, Shuka Minerals. That's Jason Brewer, of course, Marula CEO there. His other venture, I interviewed him on Shuka just the other day. So early days on that, still learning a bit about the company and what he wants to achieve. But if any of his success at Marula is to go by, then he's certainly a driven, I'm going to say young man. I'll be polite to him. He's a young man. So we'll see how he goes on that. And of course, then you want to give us an update on Blencowe Resources as well. So Shuka first, is it?
Shuka first, yeah. This is a really interesting development and potentially lucrative development, I think, for shareholders of the former company, which was, of course, Edenville Energy. And on 3rd of August, that's about a week ago, the company announced that at the AGM that shareholders had approved the name change to Shuka Minerals. Shuka, I note, stands for it's actually the name for a red cloth worn by the Maasai tribe in Eastern Africa, and it's one of the oldest tribes. And it's a sign of power, and it's a sign of positivity. So let's hope that rubs off literally and metaphorically on the company Shuka Minerals. But of course, it's evolved from Edenville Energy. The EPIC code for the new company will be SKA, and as a result of that AGM, two huge investments to the tune of £1.5 million have come into the company from two investment groups. The first, of course, is Q Global Commodities, which is run by Quinton van der Berg, the South African billionaire, and they have a huge track record of success, and of course also a great track record of success collaborating with the Shuka non-exec director Jason Brewer, and that of course is through Marula Mining. And Mark, I can remember back to January this year when we first spoke about Marula, and it was literally one of the first companies I covered at the start of the year. And of course, that was at about 3p, I think the share price was. And of course, it's just blazed a trail throughout 2023 and hit highs, I think, of 16 pence, currently at around 14 pence. So Jason and his team have delivered a fantastic return for shareholders. And of course, Quinton van der Berg was one of the shareholders. But Q Global have 12 mines in South Africa they're invested into. They have a total of 43 mining investments into various metal projects and also coal projects too. And I'll come to coal in a minute because that's the predominant asset owned by Shuka Minerals. And of course, they, as a result of those investments and developments, they developed an extensive and comprehensive logistical network, including transportation. They've got sales teams, they've got marketing teams that they can literally bring to these projects and breathe life into them. And it's a really good model, and it's been very successful for Quinton and the team. The other investment, Q Global invested £900,000 into Shuka Minerals. Then 600,000 was invested into Shuka Minerals by Gathoni Mashai, and this is basically an investment vehicle based in Kenya, run by Jason Brewer and his team, where they're invested. Also, of course, Gathoni Mashai also invested into Marula and other projects, and they have feet on the ground, literally in East, Southern, and Central Africa, seeking out quality projects like this that they can bring to market. So between the two of them, the Gathoni Mashai and Q Global own nearly half of Shuka Minerals. So of course that's a hugely significant controlling stake with the two. So Shuka Minerals is the developer and operator of the Rukwa gold mine. Now you can go to the old Edenville Energy website if you want information about the mine, and it's good to get some background, because I think I've seen claims from various people that the coal industry is dying and it's difficult to get funding. But I think coal is undergoing a bit of a renaissance at the moment, because I think investors are realizing that it's still, given the drive to go green, coal is not a green source of energy as we know, but there are various ways that companies using coal can offset that. Of course, we spoke about carbon credits and all of that. There are ways that it can be used, and of course, it's still hugely important where you've got infrastructure projects and you've got coal that can be used both for heat, for coking, for smelting, all the rest of it. It's still hugely important. So this resource they have at the Rukwa gold mine. This is based in southwestern Tanzania, and Tanzania, of course, is a very benign political state in Central Africa. It's on the south of Lake Victoria, which is the largest lake in Central Africa. And it's blessed with a very good road infrastructure, both north and south. There's the company, or the Rukwa mine, has access to a rail network via Mapanda, which is to the north of the Rukwa mine, and it's also on close to the shores of Lake Tanganyika, and there are options there to barge coal, so washed coal, to northwest Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda, and also the DRC. The project itself has a total measured resource, or a total JORC compliant resource, of 173 million tons of coal. That's 61.5 million tons measured, and the resource there is drilled out to various depths, but primarily the Komolo and Namweli deposits are key, and also at Muse as well, where coal is extracted, which is classified as Grade C bituminous thermal coal. So of course that's very sought after. I mentioned the fact that coal projects are increasingly difficult to finance. So the strategy of Shuka Minerals is that, alongside their status as a producer, and it's important to note that Shuka is a producer. I'm going to come to those numbers in a second, but the mine itself, is seen as an integral part of the company going forward as a producer, and Jason and the team will be seeking out energy metals projects in Africa that are also at producer status. So in a sense, they're complementary to Shuka status as a producing company. Of course, the company is now funded to do that with the money that's been raised from the two investment groups. In its annual report that was released shortly before the AGM, the company discussed the production at the Rukwa gold mine. They cited intermittent production supply problems, and there were particular problems during 2022, but then a change in local management on the ground. And I think the primary issues they face seem to be actually managing the mine effectively, managing both production and also transportation, and tying everything together with the resources they had. And what that meant was, in terms of production, they saw intermittent performance. That performance certainly improved during the second half. They noticed strong demand, and in particular, a Rwandan client had ordered 5,000 tons of washed coal per month. So the potential there to sell this coal is there for all to see. But the challenge, I think, still remains, and that was reflected in the March production report, that aside from weather issues and certain other logistical issues, they were still having problems managing the process. So when I spoke about Q Global, I mentioned their logistical transportation, sales and marketing network that they have. This is, if you like, a perfect fit for Shuka Minerals, because I think they can apply that logistical network to stabilizing the production process at the Rukwa gold mine, and developing it, producing a more consistent output, which is key. I think if you're a client and you're relying on this coal, you want to be sure that there's a consistent output there, and then on the back of that, you can sell more coal. So that's hugely important for them. So I think where we are now, we're at a fascinating juncture, because since it was announced back in the start of 2022 that Jason and the team were getting involved with Shuka, the share price bumped along the bottom. This is on the Edenville chart, 4.75p. And of course, now we're back up at 12p, been as high as 13p. Still a long way down. I mean, there's been a precipitous collapse in the share price over the past few years. And of course, the board has to take responsibility for that. The chairman has stepped down, and the management team will be stepping aside as well. So Jason and his team will be bringing in other directors to run this new venture. I've no doubt that there'll be some input from Quinton van der Berg and Q Global in that process. But really, we're just seeing the share price come back now to 12p, gives the company a market capitalization of just 3.3 million. So we're almost where Marula were right at the start, at a lowly market capitalization. And if Jason and his team managed to bring projects to the table at anything like the pace he was able to do with Marula mining, we could see the share price really start to recover a lot of that 90% fall over the past year. And I think it's as it stands at the moment, there's been no news yet of those new projects, but I think it's a strong buy, in my opinion, simply because you could buy now and just wait for those projects to arrive. Because once, I think we've seen before, once Jason Brewer promises he's going to do something, it happens.
Indeed, yes. How often is that the case, where we have an interview with him and he says he's going to do X, and then the next time we speak, he's done X and he's on to Y. It's quite remarkable. He really is pushing on and building some significant businesses, and I think this partnership with Q Global, of course, that did start a little bit in Marula, didn't it, with a couple of the projects there. But as I understand, Quintin there, the mining billionaire over in Africa, wants to diversify away from the carbon assets, the coal assets, and build a company together with Jason into the net zero focus of metals. So I think it's a very good partnership they've got going, clearly backed by a lot of money there and demonstrated, as we've seen in one or two of the projects over at Marula. But now there's a whole company focused around it. So again, I think let's see how it goes. But it's a very good start for sure. And if anything at Marula is to go by, I'm sure Jason will be doing his best to replicate the success at Marula. So thank you very much, Alan, for giving us that sort of insight there. And we'll keep a close eye on Shuka, I should say, and Marula, because I'm sure, as you've seen this week, there's been an awful lot of news on Marula since they've come out of suspension there. So I think Jason will be a fairly regular on Stopbox anyway. But for now, let's leave Shuka and we'll talk about Blencowe, of course. So how are things going with the jumbo flake graphite that they've got?
It's that they've had a very strong run, the shares in Blencowe, and of course Blencowe, ably run by Mike Ralston, who's a South African entrepreneur and long established in the mining business. He was interviewed recently by Andrew Scott, and gave a very good interview and really summarised well where the company is right now. But I'll just provide a bit of background for those that don't know. So Blencowe currently shares trading at just on 5p, just over 5p. In fact, gives it a market capitalization of 10.5 million. And the company a couple of years ago reversed into African Resources in Uganda. The 100% owner of the Orem Cross graphite project in Uganda. And again, we spoke just now about the Ruckle mine and Shuka Minerals in the southwest of Tanzania. So Tanzania is at the southern end of the Lake Victoria basin. At the top end of that, you've got Uganda. So although Africa is this vast continent, they're still quite close together in African terms anyway. So Orem Cross is a huge tract of land, if you like, 520,000 hectares or 2,000 square miles. And it is, when the team first described what they found there, it's a jumbo graphite project, and to coin a phrase, the stuff was literally sticking out of the ground. You could have driven a tractor and hoe over it, and you could have basically mined quite a bit of flake graphite at the outset at that point. But I think what we've seen with flake graphite, and I think in particular when a project like this develops, is there are the challenges, because if you extract graphite in Uganda, say, and then you go and extract graphite down in South Africa, you'll get two different types of graphite, and of course it then has to be processed and refined, so you get the total graphite concentrate. But all of those graphite concentrates have different chemical properties. So you might find a project which on the face of it seems to have loads of graphite in the ground, but when the distillation process takes place, when the refining process is complete, at the end of it, you've got something which can't be used. And then your potential offtake clients that are lined up simply won't do business with you. So you've abjectly failed. So what Mike Ralston, Cameron Pearce, of course, is the exec chairman. I've known Cameron for many years, and he's overseen many successful companies during his tenure. But with Blencowe, I think they've got a company which is going to do great things in the very near future. And the team have sought to develop the Orem Cross project to a point where they can attract in quality investors, and they can bring in the right offtake partners, and they're at that juncture now. They're at a really exciting juncture. Through the work that they undertook with the PFS, they established a net present value at Orem Cross of $482 million, a 14-year initial mine life, and the project is expected to throw off something like $1.1 billion in free cash over the next 14 years. So in order to take the project down the roads that it needs to go down, of course, they have to undergo this pre-quality testing processes. And in order to do that, they chose to take some samples to China and also some samples to the USA. So in China, they're testing around 100 tons of large flake graphite And in the USA, they are testing the smaller, what they call the spheronized purified graphite. Those are, in other words, the small flakes, the small flakes, where they can ascertain value, ascertain that quality, and also the chemical components within that to ensure that they have consistency. And once you go through this process, you then take the end product out to the end users and ask them to test it, to integrate it in with the graphite they might currently be using, obviously to assess quality, consistency, and all the rest of it. And this is the process they're going through at the moment. But the fact is that this is a long way down the road. So of course, once this is completed, they can then undertake the definitive feasibility study, and that, of course, is the final stage of the process where they can then cost out the extraction plant, the beneficiation plant, and basically start processing, getting the stuff out to market. So in these steps, the pre-qualification process to ensure end product quality has to go to the point where they established 99% purity in the product before they send it to offtake. But of course, once they're at that point, then of course the offtake process is pretty straightforward. They took a huge step forward, and this is, I think, what really sets Blencowe apart from the other companies with similar projects. The U.S. Development Finance Corporation, which is essentially an agency of the US government, have come in and agreed to provide full debt funding once the DFS is completed. So they're going to provide a $5 million grant to Blencowe Resources. And this, of course, massively de-risks the project straight away. That process is ongoing at the moment and is expected to be completed very shortly. But this essentially means for shareholders that Blencowe will receive non-dilutive funding through to production. But of course, it then means that being a US government agency, that a lot of the graphite project will then be channeled directly into US agencies, which is absolutely fine, because of course it'll be bought at the market price. So there's huge potential also with this to, once you have that funding in place and that partner, to then develop the rest of the project. I mentioned the size of the area. Currently, the samples have been taken from an area that represents about 1% of the total project area, and the same potential in terms of graphite exists across the rest of the project also. So, understandably, Mike and the team are hugely excited about this process. The DFC coming in is a key part of this development, and I know in the interview I saw that Mike said he's not aware. I think apart from Syra Resources has a similar relationship with the DFC. There are no other graphite companies with that relationship. So I think that in itself is a huge stamp of approval and validation for the status of the Orme Cross project. And certainly, since that announcement was made, we saw the share price jump up to 6.5p. But it's been very quiet sort of over the summer. We dropped to 4.5p last week, back up to just over 5p now. But that's with a market capitalization of 10.5 million. When we got the potential funding in place to complete the DFS, get the project up and operating, without shareholders being significantly diluted. I think Blencowe probably has got to be one of the resource investment plays of the year, if not the decade.
Okay, thank you very much, Alan, for that. Just remind me that the funding there, you said about 5 million potential funding.
$5 million, yeah. $5 million funding from the DFC, Development Finance Corporation, which is basically an agency of the US government. And of course, when we've spoken about gold metal resources, and about the significance of that homegrown tungsten project, the US government are looking for projects like this that it can control, it can get involved with in terms of funding, and then it has that supply going forward. So this could be absolutely huge for Blencowe, and I think Mike and the team have done a great job getting to this point. But as I say, also it's really interesting to look at just because you have bits of graphite sticking out of the ground, it doesn't mean to say those bits of graphite are going to be good enough to be used in an end product, say by a battery company. It's about how the total graphite content when they get to that graphite product at the end, how pure is it? How chemically consistent is it? What qualities does it have compared to the graphite that's being used from that mine over there? All of those factors need to be taken into account. So and that's a factor, I think, when you're looking to invest into a company producing graphite, and that's why I think Blencowe right now offers a great opportunity at 5p.
Indeed, and significantly de-risked there. I mean, with that funding, that's not confirmed yet, though, is it? That's should be coming soon. Some news on that, should it?
Yeah, it's Mike said that that they're going through that process now, and it looks as though it's going to happen. I mean, it was announced earlier this year, so that's so that's hugely significant. And I mean we've had a few broker notes published since that announcement was made. A company called Resolve Research rates Blencowe Resources a strong buy with an initial 23.3p target price. Says Orme Cross is fast becoming a tier 1 project, and it's at an inflection point for graphite demand also. So I think look at how they de-risked it. Look at once that DFC announcement is confirmed, I think we're going to see the share price rocket.
Yeah, and that would be very good. I mean, to see the United States government, doing these kind of deals, that just solidifies what they've been saying effectively. And as you say, mentioned Golden Metal Resources, they're wanting to also put in applications and get access to some of that government level funding. Brilliant. Exciting times for the sector. Well, thank you very much, Alan, for talking to us today about Shuka Minerals and Blencowe Resources. Have a pleasant weekend, and I'll speak to you next week.
Thanks, Mark. You too.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programmes at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.